So I'm going to, before I say my traditional thank yous that kind of go along with the winning an award like this, I did want to kind of share with you all a quick story that really encapsulates kind of how I feel about, the honor. Last year I had the opportunity to be the commencement speaker for the graduating class at Riverwood High School. It was a wonderful honor, and on the day of the event, I had jumped out of the shower and I was getting dressed, and my 5-year-old daughter comes up to me and says, Daddy, what you doing? I said, well, I'm going to give a speech. Why? She said. My wife, knowing that I was somewhat nervous for the evening, and kind of trying to boost my ego, jumped in there and said, Ryan, Riverwood was looking for someone to address its graduating class who was, smart and young, wise and funny, right? Thoughtful and caring, right? And my daughter turns to me and my wife and she said, so why'd they ask Daddy to speak? Well, really, that's the way I feel tonight. When I look out upon you guys, and I was really honest with myself and kind of look at tonight the way my daughter would have, I think it'd be pretty hard for me to come up with a reason that I should be receiving accolades while, most of the other people in the room aren't. You see, the truth is that it's wonderful when people recognize you for the good that you do. But it's collectively all of us that really control the direction and the good of our community. So I'd be remiss if I didn't say thank you for the Abe Schwartz Award. It's a wonderful honor. But I'd even be more remiss if I didn't take the opportunity right now to thank all of y'all for your continued support of this organization and this community, because really the generosity of you is what allows us to do what we do. So thank you very much.
Our second recipient is Ross Kogan. Ross is involved with the Jewish Federation of Greater Atlanta, having held several leadership positions, including the most recent CEO Search Committee member, and he serves on our executive committee. He's also a member of the AIPAC here in Atlanta, the Atlanta Executive Committee, and the AIPAC National Council. He's very active in pro-Israel politics, and Ross was a champion behind the Young Leadership Initiative that we implemented last year as part of our federation model. Ross?
So I want to start off by saying thank you, and a special thank you to Robert. Robert, you've been a true mentor and a friend when it comes to my own personal work in the community, and I know I could always count on your good counsel, your honesty, your advice, and your friendship. So a personal thank you. And I want to thank the community because there's an expression we have in our family. We talk about family who are like friends and friends who are like family. And really, when you look out across this room, nothing could embody that more. But I do especially want to thank my family, my aunts, my uncles, my cousins, both my first cousins and the other 7,400. My brother, my sister-in-law, my nieces, my parents who have just been absolutely wonderful examples and role models. My 3 inspiring children, of course, my wife, who is truly my partner in all of this work that we do, and really my better 2/3. So I wanted to make sure I said thank you. But when I was thinking about this word, I was thinking about how lucky it is to be part of this cohort called Young Leadership, because we get to live in 2 worlds. In one world is this world of our current challenges and our current opportunities and successes, but we're also straddling into this other world that's the potential of the future. But we're also lucky because in this community here, you've got leadership that is truly committed to both of those goals as well. And not just for themselves, but for the next generation. And as you look around the country, that's not always the case. The commitment to leadership, the commitment to next generation leadership is truly inspiring and special. And when we think of this future world that we're committed to. I want us to be excited. There's a lot of positive things going on. We need to build on that excitement. And we need to be committed to the future Jewish community that we want, the future Jewish community that we need, and be unwilling to accept anything else. It's a mitzvah to do the work. It's holy work. It's an obligation. It's a joy. And it's a joy to be able to do it with everyone here, family who are like friends, friends who are like family. Thank you.
Every year, the Federation presents the Gerald Cohen Community Development Award to someone who's not a native to Atlanta and who has lived here less than 7 years. The person selected based on their work with the Federation and their participation in agency and synagogue activities. This year's Gerald Cohen Award goes to Bob Baratsky, who moved to Atlanta in 2009. Bob is deeply committed to serving our community and sits on the board of many organizations, including AIPAC, Atlanta Executive Council, the Temple, the American Jewish Committee, and the Jewish Federation of Greater Atlanta. Last year, Bob and his wife Eileen set up the Joseph Engel Memorial Scholarship that is awarded to a student in the Ethiopians for Engineers program at Jerusalem College of Technology. It's really wonderful that our community welcomed back Eileen Engel 3 years ago. And it was even better that she brought Bob along with her. So I'd like to call on Bob Baratsky to accept this award. And didn't wear a tie this time.
Thank you very much. It's difficult to follow Ross as a speaker. He's so articulate. The first time I heard him speak at an AIPAC event, I told him that I wanted to be the first to volunteer for his future Senate campaign. I truly appreciate this award. The Gerald H. Cohen Award is especially meaningful to me as I've worked with Marty, Judy, and Ross on several community projects. Gerald's legacy lives on in the commitment of his family to Jewish life. The fact that this award even exists indicates the openness and warmth of the Atlanta Jewish community. While it doesn't hurt to be married to one of the most admired women in town, I've been given the opportunity to work on some of the key issues that face our people. I'm grateful to all the wonderful friends, volunteers, and staff who have helped and guided me these last 3 years. You have extended yourself so graciously to me, and for that I am thankful. I am truly fortunate to be part of a Jewish community with a storied past and a great future. There is so much more to do here in Atlanta and overseas. I'm especially concerned about the plight of the Ethiopian Jews living in Israel. As we face these challenges, Gerald Cohen's legacy will continue to inspire us all. Thank you very much.
The next two awards will be presented by those that created these awards. I'd like to call on Sandy London, who is here tonight to present the Max and Mary London People Power Award. And I think after Sandy's completed, we'll call on Louis Shubin, and who will present the Marilyn Shubin Professional Development.
The Mary and Max London People Power Award has been presented annually since 1990 to an individual or individuals who have made a significant difference as a hands-on direct service volunteer. Nominees must have had a consistent record of service for at least 5 years or more and been responsible of a unique program or project not otherwise in existence before they became involved. Today, our family's 2012 award is presented to a gentleman who is an example of what one person with vigor, determination, persistence, and longevity can accomplish. This year's honoree is Josiah Benader, affectionately known to all as Mr. B, nominated by Congregation Orve Shalom. To quote from his nomination application, Mr. B obtained the charter for Troop 73 in 1950 at Orve Shalom and has been its dedicated scoutmaster since that time. Several generations of Orve Shalom congregants, their families, and others have enjoyed the ties of leadership and service Mr. B fosters through the Boy Scouts of America. His personal objective, I quote, "I've made the decision to mold boys into men as long as I'm able." That dedication to Troop 73 and the Boy Scouts of America has sustained him and kept him on this course for the past 62 years. In all the years, our family has been blessed to acknowledge the many creative, talented, and caring individuals in our community. No other individual has demonstrated this length of service. Mr. B is a native of Atlanta, father of 7, and grandfather of 13, and great-grandfather of 1. In 1934, at the age of 12, he first joined the Scouting organization at a time when Scouting was considered one of the great youth programs of the day. After graduating with honors from Georgia Tech in 1943, he enrolled in Officer Candidate School and shortly thereafter went before the Scouting Board of Review and was awarded his Eagle. In addition to his role as Scoutmaster, Mr. B served as president of Orve Shalom from 1954 to 55 and remains to this day an active member of their board. Besides his work as a Scoutmaster, he also finds time to volunteer with many other community organizations and has served most notably as a past president of the DeKalb Grand Jurors Association, the Sheffield Civic Club, and has been co-captain of his Neighborhood Watch. While we certainly want to acknowledge the recognition that Mr. B received for outstanding leadership from President George W. Bush, we know this very special Hometown Award also will find a place of honor in his heart. Mr. B, we're pleased and delighted to add your name to the distinguished list of past honorees who continue to enrich our community with their creative and dedicated service. On behalf of the London family, it is my pleasure to present you with a token of our appreciation for your contribution to the Scouting community of Atlanta and a check for $1,000 to Orve Shalom, the nominating congregation. We wish you, Yasha Koa, and all your future volunteers.
We want to express our appreciation for this wonderful award of Mary Max London Award, Power. Big Power Award. We're delighted that this happened. Mary and Max London, the award has been in their honor in previous years, and Max London as a special person because actually I understand that Max left Poland in the early 90s and came to the States to look for his fortune. When he settled down for a little while, he called the rest of his family to come to America. And that, in my family, the same thing. My father left Island Roads at 18 in the early 90s, and he came to America and brought the rest of the family here. And a lot of y'all are not familiar with those years, but actually the Depression years were very difficult. And the people of Max, my father, who otherwise actually, they overcame the problems, raised their families, and we're real proud that this honor is the Mary and Max London Award. When I received word on this award, I recognized that actually it's not just an award for myself. It's an award for all the men and women who have worked with us in all these years. In 1950, the first started the troop. The other person who was here was Mr. Max, was actually Mr. Joe Zimmerman, who was the commissioner for the area. And the troop that had been there and existed before had fell apart and started a new troop. And it was Joe Zimmerman of blessed memory who started that troop back in 1950. In 1950, the first year of the Silver Scoutmaster, and in 1951, I became Scoutmaster, and the Scoutmaster since then. And when I got word in regards to his honor, I sent an information email to my Scout family. I said a recognition and an honor for all the women and men who worked with our Scouts all these years, and the mothers and fathers who made sure that their son participated in our great youth program. We salute all of you for your dedication to making a difference in all our Scouts' lives. We are proud to represent all of you at this presentation of this award. Our Eagle Scout, Daniel Aldell, is one who made the recommendation myself for this award. Most important is recognizing all the men and women who have worked with Scouting going back to the 50s to the present day. The one person that's much more important to me is my wife, Bertie. If we make August, we'll be married 65 years. And almost all of those 65 years, I've been involved in Scouting and other activities. And she's given love and support and devotion to me. And how in the world I could gain that type of respect is beyond me. You know, the question asked is, why do you stay in Scouting so long? It must be because you enjoy hiking and camping, being out in the woods. Well, actually, in reality, I really don't. If I didn't realize what we were doing in Scouting and what the program, the great program Scouting is, and what it does is helping young boys become responsible adults. That's what I should drive me in regards to staying in Scouting. A few years back, my doctor says you got osteoporosis and you have to watch your hiking and camping, and if you're not careful, you're going to fall. Well, sure enough, I did fall in an autumn hiking and camping trip in the parking lot. And I got an impacted female fracture with 4 screws in there, and the doctor told me I got another 6 to 8 more months before it to heal out. So that's not going to stop me from doing what we're doing. And I want to give you another reason. Actually, we appreciate the honors tonight, but there are other rewards that come to you as adult leaders who work with young people. Our congregation a few years back, we had a problem in regards to certain things happening in Seminole. And we had emails sent back and forth. And I received an email back from someone that I emailed, and he wrote me, "You've always shown respect and integrity that I remember ever since I was an 11-year-old Boy Scout, trying to figure out how to accomplish some of the many things that are important in life." And I responded back to this young man. Thanks for your email. When I'm still a captain of my scouts, sleeping on the hard ground, hiking for hours, putting up with boys that try you anymore, you would think I'd say to myself, what am I doing here at 81 years old? And that was 9 years ago. And you know, when I see your email, it makes me realize how important what I do in scouting and the opportunity for me to be a part, no matter how hard, in the molding of the characters and the formation of the growth from boy to manhood. When I see the contribution that you have made to my community, it makes all my hours, no matter how hard or cold. I want to thank you for your comments, and as a parent, you have come to a lot of things that are important in life. Not only did this man 9 years ago, but in all these past years, he has continued his contribution to our community. And the past holiday of Passover in Marie Haggadah, we talked about all the miracles that God performed in his life while they were in the wilderness. And for each miracle, we say, Dayenu. One miracle would have been sufficient. And I say to you that if this young man that we worked with and helped him become the responsible person he was, then that would say Dayenu. That would have made it very fun for us and made it worthwhile for all the years that we have had the opportunity to work with boys. And it happened to be just by chance that this young man happened to be the outgoing chairman of the board of the Jewish Federation of Greater Atlanta.
I'd like to call on Louis Shubin to present the Marilyn Shubin Professional Staff Development Award.
Good afternoon. I'm pinch hitting today for Marilyn, who normally presents this award, and apologizes very much for not being here with all her friends today. The Professional Staff Development Award has recognized the outstanding professionals in our community since 1995. These individuals continue to enrich the Federation and its beneficiary affiliates through their innovation and dedication. Tonight's award winner follows in the same tradition. A passionate professional who chose the non-profit field because of the challenges it represents. Someone who exemplifies leadership, is a consummate collaborator, and has demonstrated the capacity for the most senior professional responsibility. It is my privilege to introduce the 2012 Professional Staff Development Award winner, Rick Aronson, Chief Operating Officer of Jewish Family and Career Services. Let me tell you a little bit about Rick. He's a native of Pittsburgh, received his BA from Emory and his JD from the University of Miami. Fortunately for us, 8 years ago, Rick chose Atlanta and JF&CS. He's directly responsible for all JF&CS programs, outcomes reporting and evaluation, as well as oversight of all technology systems and the stewardship of the strategic planning process. Rick, your days are full. With that said, you continue to be innovative, always seeking new relationships for the agency, and are a sought-after speaker at national conferences. Rick, we know that you and JF&CS will use this award and its stipend to further your own professional development and share your expertise with your colleagues at JF&CS and throughout Atlanta. The plaque reads, "For outstanding contributions as a professional within the Atlanta Jewish community." Congratulations.
Thank you. That last gentleman actually took my speech, so I think I'll just, I think I'm just going to wing it. In all seriousness, I want to thank the Shubin family very much. They are so personally involved in this award and really take the time to get to know the honorees, and it's really a great privilege of mine to be in such high esteem with my past award winners. It's been wonderful getting to know you and Marilyn and the rest of your family. I'd also like to thank the Jewish Federation of Greater Atlanta for their deep and consistent support of our community, as evidenced tonight, and for the agencies that serve it as well. I'd like to thank my JF&CS family, I think the ones clapping in the back there. Really, JF&CS has adopted a recovering attorney and tech entrepreneur from Pittsburgh and really given me and my family a whole new life. And it's just been wonderful in every sense of the word. It's so grateful to Gary Miller, Brenda Fisk, Debbie McNeil, and to the board and staff of JF&CS. You know, in my job, I get to work with the most incredible people and see impact each and every day. There's really nothing better and more rewarding than that, for-profit, nonprofit, or otherwise. Next, I'd like to thank my own family, Nancy, Lindsay, and Danny. You're here to support me today, just like you are every day. I love you, and I feel the same way about you that Robert and Josiah feel about their wives and families. They really said it much better than I ever could. Lastly, I'd really like to thank each of you for your friendship, for our shared support of Tikkun Olam, and for this most meaningful recognition today. Thank you very much.
Before I call upon Carol Cooper to present the nominating committee and the slate of new officers and board members, I would like to recognize just for a moment 3 individuals who have been asked to serve as trustees for life of the Jewish Federation of Greater Atlanta. This year, Lois Frank, if you would stand up. Jerry Schwartz. And although she's in Cuba right now, if I could phone her, it would be to tell you that Marilyn Shubin also is one of our trustees for life. I believe that these 3 individuals will take this position seriously, and I'll expect to see them at meetings regularly. Thank you. I now call upon our past chair of the nominating committee, Carol Cooper.
So, as we're talking about our trustees for life, let's not forget Robert Arrighetti, who's also going to be. It has been my pleasure to chair this year's nominating committee. I would like to acknowledge and thank the members of the committee: Marcy Bass, Carrie Brickman, Andy Deutsch, Abby Flom, Isaac Frank, David Hirsch, Kathy Seelig, Joni Shubin, Bruce Weinstein, and Fred Wachter. They all worked diligently to determine this year's slate of nominees. This year's committee faced many complexities. The new bylaws changed the structure of the board, and thus a different slate than we've had in the past. At this time, I would like to recognize and express our collective appreciation to all the officers, executive committee members, and board trustees who will be completing their terms in office. Their names are listed in the program. Each of you brought commitment, insight, and wisdom, and we thank you for your involvement and dedication. We know that you will continue to serve our community in many important ways during the months and years ahead. I'd like to take a moment of personal privilege to talk about our outgoing chair, Robert Arrighetti. Robert, you have met each challenge with patient, wisdom, vision, and most importantly, your very special personal touch. The respect and love of this community you have earned, for you have impacted the lives of so many. Thank you for being such a wonderful, special friend to me and to my entire family. I love you. election tonight reflects the broad diversity of our community. Each nominee is a seasoned, experienced individual with a deep commitment to the Jewish people and our community in Atlanta. It is my honor to present the 2012-2013 Executive Committee slate. Please stand as I call your name and remain standing, but I ask the audience to please hold your applause until the end of the nomination list. This is going to be hard not to clap. Chair of the board, Jerry Benjamin. Thank you. Secretary Treasurer, Ron Kirshner. Past board chair, Robert Arrighetti. Campaign chair, Mark Rosenberg. Plan Giving and Endowment, Mark Lewin. Community Impact Chair, Belinda Morris. Marketing Chair, Michael Kogan. Women in Philanthropy Chair, Joni Shubin. Under 40 Chair, Ross Kogan. Also, Marcy Bass, Isaac Frank, Sheldon Friedman, David Horowitz, Edie Coonan, Noah Levine, Carolyn Oppenheimer, Kelly Rosenberg, Mark Satisti, Kathy Seelig, Mark Silverman, and Bruce Weinstein. Let's applaud all of these people. You will now be seated. Jerry, we've come a long way since that summer day when you, Vicki, Larry, and I shared a Diet Coke on your porch at a solicitation. I am so honored tonight to have the privilege of installing you, my dear friend and mentor, as chair of this board. The lessons you have learned during a lifetime of community service have paved the way for this moment. You are singularly prepared to lead our community. You are an inspiration to me and to countless others whose lives you have touched. I know that everyone in this room joins in congratulating you on this milestone in your life. As you can see by this slate, you will be surrounded by an outstanding group of committed and talented officers. This will be a great leadership team. Thank you. I would also like to acknowledge the wonderful group of newly nominated members of the Board of Trustees, all whose names are listed in your program. I would now ask all of our new Executive Committee members and Board of Trustees for 2012-2013 to rise and be recognized and to remain standing for just a moment. Standing before you are the men and women who have been nominated and who have agreed to represent and provide direction to Federation and our community in the coming year. They will be responsible for managing our resources and assuring that community priorities are set and adhered to. Under their leadership, we will help to transform Jewish values into tangible deeds and to strengthen our Jewish community in Atlanta, in Israel, and all over the world. Thank you for agreeing to serve. You may be seated. Chair, I move to elect the nominated slate of officers and members of the Executive Committee and Board of Trustees of the Jewish Federation of Greater Atlanta for the fiscal year 2012-2013. In accordance with the Federation bylaws, having received no other nominations, I call for approval of the nominating committee report as presented. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Any abstentions? Great. The officers and Board of Trustees have been duly elected. My best wishes to all, for a successful and productive year. I know that Jerry looks forward to working with each of you as you address the important issues of our community. Thank you.
The three most frequently asked questions over the last 2 years have been, will there be more money to distribute in allocations? Thank God the answer is yes this year. Are we going to announce a Lifetime Achievement Award winner? And yes, we are. And third is, are we going to have a community event? So I've got to tell you that I'm very pleased tonight to announce that in January of 2013, at a date to be determined, we will have annual community event, and the Lifetime Achievement Award winner is Marilyn Shubin. I'd like to now call upon our new chair of the board, Jerry Benjamin. Not only a good friend, but a great leader, and someone who will take us further and further into greater and greater things, and I look forward to working with him.
I've prepared a moderate life treatise for tonight that I'm going to deliver very, very quickly. As I listened to Joel's questions, I didn't quite expect that. I don't know if they were rhetorical or not, but I'm not sure who would take this position, but here I am. First and foremost, I have to offer my thanks to my wife, Vicki, as well as our children, Elise and Eric, who are here with me today, for their support and willingness to allow me to take on this responsibility. When presented with this honor, I was kind of hoping that they wouldn't be quite so supportive. But here we are, so thank you guys. I feel pretty upbeat. The past fiscal year at Federation has been characterized by significant change. Michael joining us as our new president and CEO. Federation enjoying a revitalized annual campaign, reversing a trend of 4 consecutive down years, following the severe 2008 fallout in the economy. A meaningful revitalization of missions and a concerted effort to get back to basics. Adoption of our newly amended bylaws designed to enhance transparency and accountability. And this was really quite an undertaking, and I think the results are already starting to shine. A very intentional right-sizing of our executive committee to forge accountability, and an important realignment of our internal organization structure to position Michael as our CEO with 4 to 5 direct reports, while more effectively coordinating engagement and resource development initiatives in a fashion aimed at producing tangible and measurable results. Each of these changes required significant leadership and collaboration. Many folks have been recognized, so I'm going to go through the list quickly, but I'd be remiss not to thank Robert once again for his leadership. I think it's more than 1,051,000 minutes that he spent, but your meeting count was briefly accurate, Joe. Jack Halpern for chairing a very directed executive search that produced, in my view, just an outstanding pool of candidates. It's very different than what we've seen in this community before. And I'm really delighted to have Michael here as my partner. Thank you. Elliot Arnovitz for stepping into the corner office and taking on that transition seamlessly and really putting a beat back into the organization where people are pleased to be here and feel good about what they're doing. Kathy, who brought energy, more ease than I can really relate to, but really worked to change the culture, importantly changing the trajectory of our annual campaign. Can't say enough good things. Working side by side with Kathy was Renette Throne and her campaign staff, working tirelessly to make things feel real good here at Federation once again, so thank you all. Something new that I've never seen before. Occasionally you invite someone to be campaign chair, they reluctantly meet with you, they hem, they haw, they ultimately redress, and reluctantly accept the role. Never have I seen someone that wanted it as badly and his passion. Mark Rosenberg, this year's campaign chair. Mark has already worked with respect to the 2013 campaign, partnering with Lois Kuniansky, and I couldn't be more excited. He's asking me for an extension of his term limit, which is great. Howard Feinstein, who couldn't be here, who led our lay allocations initiative, which more than 100 people touched. They were thoughtful, they took their responsibility seriously, and we owe them, Amanda Abrams and her staff, a real debt of gratitude for a tough job. Very, very well done. Thank you. The entire JGAF professional staff who rallied together first under Elliot and Robert's leadership, and then under Michael and Robert's leadership to achieve much more than many thought possible. And then our past Federation chairs, our immediate three past chairs, Marty Kogan, Carol Cooper, and Robert, who have so generously shared their time with me without hesitation each and every time I've reached out for guidance. And I too have your phone numbers. Michael laid out some objectives, which, to the best of my recollection, are the first time I've heard those in an annual meeting. When we talk about the executive committee, and it's not large in number, it's 23 folks, there's a commonality that I'm very, very excited about. We're seeing committed people, we're seeing capable people, we're seeing compassionate people, but we've got competitive people. And I promise you those 4 C's are going to translate into something pretty meaningful. We've got significant momentum in a number of key areas. Our Federation internal audit organization structure has been realigned. In my personal view, it now makes sense, with our CEO spending meaningful time interfacing with donors, key existing and prospective community donors, agencies, rabbis, and lay leaders. Allocable dollars increased for the first time in 4 years as a result of our wonderful UP campaign. Our under 40 leadership team, both lay and professional, will be effectively realigned to drive higher levels of engagement and campaign participation. Our ultra-successful Creative Jewish Legacy training programs under the direction of Planned Giving Endowment VP Phyllis Silverstein, along with our CLJ staff and late teams, have already resulted in excess of $77 million of permanent endowment expectancies for our community. That's wonderful. While there's much work yet to be done, this really represents our community at its best, working together for the collective long-term benefit of Jewish Atlanta. As Michael made reference, a dedicated Israel overseas desk that has been staffed within Federation to foster greater levels of community engagement with respect to Israel and overseas initiatives, importantly, including the missions that so many of you continue to ask about. Thanks, Michael, for bringing that back to Atlanta. Notwithstanding these accomplishments and significant momentum, we certainly don't exist without our share of challenges. Over the next 4 years, the following 4 initiatives will be specifically receiving my personal attention. Appointing and working with a committee composed of uniquely capable and committed lay leaders, educators, rabbi, and professional staff to carefully examine the financial viability of our community's day schools. Such a review can't be accomplished without examining the related issues of the affordability of a day school education, the impact of day school education upon Jewish continuity, and the very real divergence of opinion within our community as to whether a day school education is a privilege or a community obligation. To be sure, these are complex issues. However, in light of the local and national trends being observed, significantly exacerbated by the prolonged recession, the issues are too far, too great to be ignored. While I really do know this is tough stuff, I just can't in good conscience preside for the next 2 years, hoping that my successor figures it out. These issues must be addressed thoughtfully as a community head-on. Federation needs to once again assume its key community planning and convening role to allow for the efficient allocation of our scarce community resources. The sheer size and growth of our community has resulted in a significant amount of sprawl. We all know it. It's been manifested largely in an uncoordinated and in a silo fashion. The entrepreneurial nature of Atlanta and Jewish Atlanta is second to none. But the difficult reality we must address is that ample resources don't exist within our community to possibly fulfill the many near-term planned and recently launched agency and synagogue capital campaigns, currently estimated in excess of $80 million. Absent meaningful prioritization and coordination, if we be successful as a community, we must, and we will be asking both our board members and our various community lay leaders to assist us in working to rein in the siloed approach to capital planning and fundraising. The magnitude of desired capital spending simply underscores the importance to this imperative. reemphasizing formal community leadership development through training and education. Our agencies are being forced to manage larger and more complex annual budgets than ever before. The recent economic cycle has challenged and brought to light significant deficiencies in the composition and workings in many of our federations, synagogues, and agencies' board policies, procedures, and practices. The need to develop a generation of informed, capable, young community leaders and committed and educated board members is paramount to the future well-being of this community. The Federation is uniquely positioned to play a vital leadership role, developing training for the benefit of the entire community. With the cumulative talent and experience resident within this community, there's absolutely no excuse for not effectively developing future generations of educated and committed board members, leaders who will benefit our synagogues, our agencies, and our federation for decades to come. And then fourthly, enhancing the level of federation community engagement and support. Despite the absolutely wonderful results achieved in connection with our most recent annual community campaign, we must continue to address the fact that too much is repeatedly being asked with too few within our community. An aging cadre of major donors and life's realities mandates that we must continue to expand our roster of donors with a continued emphasis on the long-term importance of our next generation. With roughly 120,000 Jews and approximately 35,000 Jewish households in Metro Atlanta, it's simply unacceptable to record but 4,800 Metro area families supporting our Federation annual campaign. Through a combination of new and exciting engagement initiatives, a continued emphasis on both overseas and domestic missions, messaging delivered in formats that resonate with greater numbers of community members, and enhanced prospective donor database management and analytics, we can and we must touch more members of our community in a fashion that meets and serves donors on their terms, not ours. The ability to hide in a community as diverse and geographically broad as Atlanta clearly presents its challenge. But for the good of our children and our grandchildren, we can and we must do a better job of identifying and engaging more donors. So where does my confidence come from? It's all about people. We're extremely fortunate to have assembled an exceptional executive committee for the coming year. I'm particularly gratified to be surrounded on the executive committee by a diverse group of community leaders, each committed to driving results, and these are very, very competitive people. In conjunction with our recently amended bylaws, our executive committee has been right-sized to enhance accountability. Carol had recognized those folks that are on our executive committee. They're going to work hard. I would ask you once again to recognize them. They're chronicled on page 10 of your program. In addition to our officers and committee members that are serving on our executive committee, I must offer a personal thanks and the gratitude of our entire leadership team and community to Noah Levine, who so graciously agreed to serve on this year's executive committee. I look forward to As Carol said, I think you'll agree that we've assembled an exceptional lay leadership team that's going to drive results, and we together look forward to sharing Federation's progress over the year to come. In closing, I'd like to once again express my appreciation, both for allowing me to serve and for all that each of you do for our community. Go home.